So let's talk about Tennessee. It's a state of incredible contrasts, a really complex history, and, of course, one of the most famous nicknames in the entire country. Today, we're going to dig into why.
You've probably heard it a million times. Tennessee is the volunteer state. It's a name that just feels patriotic, right? It evokes this deep-seated can-do spirit. It's literally part of the state's DNA.
But have you ever stopped to think, why? Where did that nickname actually come from? Well, the answer isn't just about one battle or one war. It's kind of like a key, one that unlocks the entire story of what makes Tennessee, well, Tennessee.
Okay, so to really get a handle on Tennessee, we've got to start by cracking this mystery of its nickname. Because when we unpack that story, a really interesting pattern pops up. One of super passionate, but also sometimes deeply divided commitment. And that's the heart of the state's character.
Now, a lot of people think it comes from the War of 1812, and that's part of the story, for sure. But the real jaw-dropping moment? That comes a bit later, during the Mexican-American War. Get this. The U.S. government asks for 2,600 volunteers, total, from the whole country. And Tennessee? They sent over 30,000 people, by themselves. I mean, do the math. That's more than 10 times the entire national goal from just one state. Wow. That's not just answering the call. That is making a massive statement.
So that begs the question, right? Why? What was going on in Tennessee to cause that kind of overwhelming response? To get to the bottom of that, you have to look at the map. You have to look at the land itself. Because here's the secret to understanding Tennessee. It's not really one state. It's three.
They're officially called the Grand Divisions, East, Middle, and West. And listen, this isn't just some quaint, old-timey thing for tourist maps. No. This is baked right into the state's legal code. For instance, the state Supreme Court, it's legally required to have representation from all three regions. No more than 2 of its 5 justices can come from any single division. So yeah, this isn't just geography, it's fundamental to everything.
So let's start in the east. This is pure Appalachia. We're talking rugged mountains, the Great Smokies, a landscape that absolutely forged a culture of fiercely independent folks. You feel it in cities like Knoxville and Chattanooga. Then you move into the center, into Middle Tennessee, and everything changes. The landscape just softens. You get these beautiful rolling hills, the super fertile soil of the Nashville Basin, and right in the middle of it all, of course, is Nashville. This area became the hub for government and business, creating a whole different vibe from its neighbor to the east.
And finally, you hit West Tennessee. Geographically, this is totally different again. It's basically the Gulf Coastal Plain, flat, low-lying land that runs all the way to the Mississippi River. It's a land shaped by that river, with deep cultural and economic ties to the Deep South. And its heart, that's Memphis.
So you've got this state that's divided into 3 internally, right? Well, externally, it's just as connected. Tennessee borders 8, count 'em, 8 other states. That's tied with Missouri for the most in the entire country. It is a literal crossroads, linking the Midwest, the Deep South, and Appalachia.
And what happens when you're at a crossroads? Well, you're pretty much guaranteed to be at the center of the action. That unique geography, being both divided and central, put Tennessee smack dab in the middle of some of the biggest moments in American history.
You can see this independent streak from the very beginning. Tennessee officially joins the U.S. as the 16th state in 1796. But fast forward to 1861, and those internal cracks, those 3 divisions, really start to show. Tennessee becomes the very last state to leave the Union, and let me tell you, that decision was not an easy one.
There's this saying that just sums it all up perfectly. Last to secede from the Union, first to be readmitted. Think about what that means. The decision to leave was so controversial it came super late, and the decision to come back was incredibly fast. It's the perfect picture of a state completely torn, a state at war with itself.
And this is where that whole 3 states in one thing gets really, really real. On one hand, Tennessee gave more soldiers to the Confederacy than any other state besides Virginia. But, and this is wild, that pro-Union East Tennessee, it sent so many men to fight for the Union that they outnumbered the Union soldiers from all the rest of the Confederate states combined. I mean, just let that sink in. It's a state fighting a war on both sides.
So you have this central location and these deeply divided loyalties. What's the result? Tennessee becomes one of the main battlegrounds of the entire Civil War. In fact, only Virginia saw more battles. We're talking about absolutely crucial, devastating conflicts like the Battle of Franklin, all happening right there.
Okay, so after all that turmoil in the 1800s, the 20th century rolls in, and it brings something new, something that would start to reshape and even unite the state in a way nothing else really could. Massive, massive federal investment.
You've probably heard of the Tennessee Valley Authority, the TVA. It was a New Deal program started during the Great Depression, and it just completely transformed the state. By building dams, it brought electricity to rural areas for the first time and controlled all the flooding. It was a game changer, and it started to connect the regions economically in a totally new way.
Then comes World War II, and almost overnight, this secret city just appears in East Tennessee. We're talking about Oak Ridge. It was built for one reason, the Manhattan Project. This place was absolutely essential for developing the world's first atomic bomb, which suddenly put this quiet, remote part of Tennessee at the dead center of world history. It's just incredible.
So these huge 20th century projects really helped build a new, modern identity for the state. Today, Tennessee's economy is this really interesting mix. You've got major car manufacturing in the middle, a huge tourism industry in the east thanks to the Smokies, and all of it is still built on top of those deep agricultural roots.
So when we pull all these different threads together, you start to see a pattern, don't you? It keeps coming back to one thing. The entire story of Tennessee, really, is a story told in threes. And you don't have to look far to see it. It's right there in the state's symbols. That iconic flag, the 3 stars, represent the 3 grand divisions, all bound together. And the state seal, it highlights agriculture and commerce, the 2 pillars of its economy. See? These aren't just pretty designs. They're basically a visual cheat sheet to the state's whole identity.
It really is a state of incredible contrasts, isn't it? You've got mountains and flat delta land, Union and Confederate loyalties, a history that's both agrarian and atomic. It's the ultimate American crossroads, and its story will always be about these 3 unique places, these 3 states within a state, somehow bound together as one.
And that brings us right back to the beginning, back to that nickname. What does it really mean to be a volunteer? Is it the soldier who answered the call? The farmer working the land? The scientist who changed the world? Well, in Tennessee, the answer is yes. It's all of them. It's a complicated, fascinating identity. One that was forged in division, but one that still defines the volunteer state to this very day.